Hello again, it's John Cope from Cope Racing Transmissions. Welcome back to the CRT channel. I got some good news for us Chrysler and Ford lockup torque converter guys. Before I tell you the good news, I'll tell you the bad news I went through. There was a company, I believe they were in Arizona, I believe. And it was TCS, not the TCS in Canada, the TCS in America, and it stands for The Converter Shop. And they were the only ones making a Chrysler 10-inch lockup torque converter. It was their design, and they made that torque converter in-house. I have one in Mr. Haney, and I'm probably going to put another one in the Coronet, unless I put an 11-inch in Haney and just put the 10-inch in the Coronet. But anyways, the 10-inch lockup Chrysler converters for 727 and 46 are E's, 46 are H's, 518 transmissions were really good because they allowed us to have the high stall. Like, I think Haney's converters a 4200 stall, and still have lockup, and or that has lockup. It's a lockup torque converter. Also, Frostbite runs that same converter in his truck, and it is a 4,000-pound truck that is tipping the scales to bust in the nines, and he's probably going to do that soon. The truck has run 10 O's, and him and Fly and Ryan are really trying to get that thing tweaked to get it in the nines. So the converter shop, once I got hooked up with them, had built a few converters with me, and I've had really good luck with them. And then I think it was Big Al or one of the guys that was working there decided to leave and go somewhere else, and then I noticed. So after Big Al left, I noticed the time it took to get the converters and the way the building was, that they were probably a little lost without him. And I'm like, well, we're going to have to see how they're going to do, especially being they were the only ones making the lockup torque converter in a 10-inch for us Chrysler guys. So the one of the very last torque converters I bought for them, and I found out after I tried to get a hold of them that they just locked their doors and left. They just boogied. No one knows what they at. They know where they went. The last torque converter I got from them was a lockup torque converter, and you know, these are $1,100 torque converters, and ended up not even having a lockup clutch in it. It wasn't even for a lockup spline. So I had to send that to PTC and paid them to redo a converter that I paid for that wasn't nothing to what it was. I was really disappointed in them because when Big Al was there, they did good stuff. Now, they were selling converter kits to people. So they sell their billet front cover, a couple other billet pieces that made this torque converter to other converter companies. And I had another converter company build, I think the first 12 or so torque converters. One of them was for Mr. Haney. One of them was for Frostbite, and a couple other guys I sold Hellephant transmissions to. And every other one bounced. Every other torque converter had an issue. And when I would call this company, I'm not even going to mention their name. I was so disgusted with them. Every time I would call them to address a concern or an issue, they made it seem like it was no big deal. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't put ketchup on your fries. Oh, here you go. Here's a package of ketchup. That's how they handled everything. It was terrible. They made it seem like it was no big deal. And I'm like, man, I cannot deal with this company. So that was the first company that I dealt with that was using TCS's converter clutches and their converter kits. Well, after a little internet searching, I found out that TCS in America was the one making those kits. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go straight to the manufacturer, and I bought in as a dealer. And the converters were they were considerably cheaper, so I actually lowered the price because it was cheaper on my end. And like I said, when Big Al was there, they did great. Everything was good. They actually repaired a couple converters for me that the first converter company I was using literally screwed me over on. But then after Big Al left, I had the same issue with this. So once TCS closed up, there was no one. There's no one in the States or in Canada or no one anywhere that I know of that was making 10-inch lockup converters for us Chrysler guys. So I was just like, I had to take them off the website, and I wasn't selling that many lockup, trans brakes and valve bodies. So I was looking around for somebody to do it, and I made a couple calls. No one wanted to touch it. They're like, no, you have to engineer that from scratch. And, I get it. I engineer and design valve bodies from scratch, and it costs a shitload of money, time and effort that goes into doing that. So I fully understand that. So Andy Wood had mentioned to me that he wanted to get a precision converter from Precision Industries. And I've heard of them, and after they're in Tennessee, and after looking at their website, the only Chrysler stuff they had was diesel. And from what looks at their facility, and asking around, that they make a great product. So I'm like, I'm going to call them up and see what they say. So I talked to a gentleman named Jack, really nice guy, and I told him my little story thus far, what you've heard. And he had told me the original owner of Precision, the owner actually had designed and sold 10-inch lockup converters for the Dakota guys. And they only stopped building it because the demand was low. The only one that they were selling them to was Dakota guys. Well, when he told me that, I thought, well, this is great, because this has already been a product that's been built, tested, and proven with some pretty wild small blocks that he was telling me about. So I tried to explain it to him. I says, listen, I go, Gen 3 Hemis is all the rage now. There's still some small block guys and big block guys. I said, would you consider bringing that torque converter back in production? And then he was asking me for, like, well, how many would you sell? And I'm like, so I told him how many I sold in the past 2 years, which really, compared to my non-lockups, is kind of small. So he goes, well, we have to talk to the new owners or whoever bought the company, and then he'll let me know, get back to me. And he did. Jack got back to me just the other day. He also sent me the email today of what the product looked like. And we talked a little bit about this 10-inch lockup converter, which already, from the word go, I know it's a better converter setup, because I can remember talking to Kenny Ford at PTC, and he said that one of the biggest things that he didn't like about doing those TCS lockup torque converters for me was because I had sent converters back to him to get fixed. Kenny goes, there's not enough room in the bell housing. And he said the converter is tall, and this is tall would be laying on the bench. The height of it has to be taller, and somehow or another TCS had designed the converter to get it all compact and the bell housing as needed. So when I talked to Precision, they're like, yeah, we have a special spacer made. And I'm like, oh, I knew where he was going. I'm like, so you can have more area to work with the torque converter. And this is not the spacer, but this is one of my small block or Gen 3 Hemi spacers, and it would be something like this. So the spacer is allowing you, or allowing the installer, to install a converter that is taller than a non-lockup, and it needs that extra room. Somehow or another, and Kenny was telling me the reason why he didn't like doing those converters, because everything was so tight, and there was no room for error. That the tolerances of these converters had to be dead balls on perfect. Which now, knowing this, I kind of see why that first converter company was having so many problems with them. It was because they had to be perfect. So anyways, that was all the bad news. I went through a lot of converter concerns and troubles and issues with some of those lockups not fitting, and converter dragging, and converter clearance, all this stuff. The good news is Precision, I talked to Jack at Precision, and he agreed to bring this converter back. Currently, right now, he only has the spacers for small blocks. So, there's definitely more small blocks and Gen 3 Hemis, because it takes the same bell housing out there running lockup converters than there are people out there with big blocks, even though I have one in my truck. So, I'll have to see what the demand is, but the spacer, I want to think it's at least a 1/4 inch or thicker. This one is not that thick. Comes with longer dowel pins, and then it has a little relief if you still have the trigger for the a crank trigger, like on 5.9s, and which people I guess still do if you have a Dakota, but most people got away from all that. So I don't know how long it's going to take. I would think it shouldn't take too long. They have all the drawings. They have everything is still in the CNC software for the programming and everything. So I really don't think it would take too much to bring this converter back. And Jack's working on that. And so now that I know that I can get the converters, I'm working on being a dealer for Precision for their lockups. I'm still going to use PTC on everything non-lockup. I've had great luck with PTC. They're 8 inches, they're 9.5s, and I've been dealing with them for well over 25 years. But it didn't seem like they had much interest in doing anything Chrysler lockup. So this is why I had to go elsewhere. And it's probably because they like making the quick, easy money, and lockup converters are probably a pain in the ass for them to do. But I'm going to be a dealer for Precision, and I'm not sure what it's going to take. He's supposed to let me know, but most buy-ins are usually, I figured I would just buy in, and not only would I be able to carry the 8-inch or the 10 inches and the Chrysler lockup, they also make a Ford Lightning 4R100 E4OD lockup converter in single disc and triple disc, where you can turn the lockup on while you're going down the track. Also, he makes great diesel converters. So I will be able to offer my Ford customers that are buying a Casper-Matic, regardless if they have a gas or a diesel, converters to go with that if they don't have an outlet for it. But I mainly did it to take care of my Chrysler converters, because since we already developed a Transbrake reverse manual valve body, both in 3-speed for 727s and 904 and 4-speed for 46REs and 46RHs, that has the lock-up feature. I just need a converter company to do it. I'll check my time. So that's the good news. We're gonna, the Chrysler converters, I would say somewhere maybe the end of May or the beginning of June of 2024, we should have Chrysler lockup 9.5-inch converters. So anybody that wants to run a Gen 3 Hemi in a drag car and still yet go street driving with it, we're going to have you covered on that. So yeah, 2 videos in one day. How rare is that? So anyways, thanks for watching. Precision Converters coming really soon. More power to you.